Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Claressa Shields becomes the first undisputed women's heavyweight champ. She defeats Danielle Perkins, 10-round decision. She floors Perkins in the final seconds of the final round with a beautifully timed overhand right, which she'd been landing pretty much at will all fight. Perkins is huge, absolutely huge for a woman, but she sort of landed it perfectly. Perkins' head seemed to sort of swivel round, and she fell down onto her haunches, and it was a knockdown, and that was right at the end of the 10th and final round. Now, Perkins, like I say, she's an enormous woman. I mean, she dwarfed Shields, although it has to be said that Shields, who I think weighed more than she's ever done in a boxing ring, she looked very broad in the shoulders, very powerful. She's always been a big strapping girl, bit of a barrel, but she looked even bigger. And it didn't affect her at all. Her speed was there, timing was excellent. Perkins came in with 5 wins, no draws, no defeats. She's 42 years old. Now, look, I'm not taking anything away from Claressa. Honestly, I'm not. But there aren't many female heavyweights. And Perkins, like I say, was 5 wins, no draws, no defeats. But she'd fought girls up at heavyweight who had, maybe 2 fights, 3 fights, 5 fights. That's what her record consisted of. And this was an absolute quantum leap to the level of Claressa Shields, who, as we know, is one of the best female fighters ever. There was only one way that Perkins was ever going to win this fight, and that is if she put constant pressure from the opening second of the opening round on Shields, walked her down, just kept everything, she was going to win it with the feet. Keep those feet moving forward and bang, bang with the jab. You jab with the jab. A kind of like, I always use this as an example because it's a perfect example, kind of like Vernon Forrest did against Shane Mosley. But unfortunately for Danielle Perkins, she's no Vernon Forrest. But she was going to have to win this with the feet, move quickly, smother Shields, keep punching, maul her, bully her. A couple of the dark arts thrown in there. That's the only way she was going to win this fight, and she didn't do it. She just didn't do it. She jabbed, but she was out of range. Shields was able to counter with the speed from the off. In the 3rd round, she badly shook Perkins, again an overhand right. Perkins wobbled back into the ropes, and Claressa jumped all over her. Claressa, much the smaller woman, but at times she was the one doing the bullying. Perkins was, again, she was trying to jab, but she was out of range. Her feet weren't quick enough. She needed to do what, someone like Beterbiev or David Benavidez does, someone like that, really put that water on rock pressure on, smother her, stifle her. And don't forget, this is 10 2-minute rounds as well, so you haven't got a lot of time to get your work done if that's going to be your tactic. But that wasn't her tactic. She was always going to get hit, Danielle Perkins, because Shields is just too fast, too good, and too accurate. But and if you go on the floor, you go on the floor. That's fine. But if you're going to go on the floor, make sure you go on the floor because you've been trying to land your own punches. You've been trying to win, not because you're standing off waiting to be hit. Now, of course, all of this is easier said than done because you're in there with someone who's just, leagues better than anyone you've ever been in there with before. And don't forget, for a woman of 42 to only have 5 professional fights and then jump in with Claressa Shields, it was just a huge ask. And Claressa, again, I'm not taking anything away from her. She was 4 inches shorter. I don't know how much she weighed, probably about the equivalent of a light heavy or a super middle, maybe a bit more than a super middle, I think she was. But come on, I don't think Perkins weighed 200 pounds. I think she was probably, 180, something like that, 185 maybe. But you just don't get many heavyweight women around, and what can I tell you? The tactics that were employed. Claressa Shields was always going to win this fight. Tactics that were employed by Perkins. So Claressa moves to 16 wins, no draws, no defeats. And if you think back, the only time she's ever really had a tough fight was against Savannah Marshall back in 2022, when she won the first half of the fight and lost the second half. A lot of people say she won virtually every round, including Claressa. She didn't. Savannah, that was actually a pretty close fight. Savannah walked her down. you know, in the second half of that fight, she was walking her down, landing her own punches, pushing Shields back, not giving her a chance to breathe. And the scorecards kind of reflected that. I think it was like a 6-4 fight or a 7-5 fight, 7-3 fight. That's what Danielle Perkins needed to do, and she just didn't or couldn't do it. So Claressa Shields is now the undisputed women's heavyweight champion. For all I know, they probably threw a light heavyweight belt into the mix. That's what they normally do. But how many belts has she won now? About 20. Claressa's mopping up the belts. And this fight was over in Flint, Michigan, which I think is where Claressa's from. So it was a homecoming. Crowd went wild. Yeah. Go and have a look at this. It's on DAZN. Tell me what you think. And you leave your comments below. But well done to Claressa Shields. Commiserations to Danielle Perkins, who looked like she had some ability, but tactically couldn't do it. And just in terms of skill, was just nowhere near Shields. Tell me what you think of the fight. Yeah, thanks very much for your time. As always, please subscribe to the channel if you know and hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. Much love. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.